Tell me about your vision.
My vision is that people understand themselves better, understand what drives them, as my book is titled.
Mhm.
And the way that I talk about it in the book is using the metaphor of a car
Yes.
to represent a family. And we sit in this car. Whether or not your family had a car is irrelevant, but we all sit within the confines of a family system that is like a car. And the power of the influence of the behaviors in that car when we grow up really have tremendous amount to do with shaping the people that we become.
Mm.
And so we all grow up with some stuff that works really well for us, and most of us have stuff that doesn't work really well for us.
Mhm.
And my book is helping people to be able to increase their self-awareness about themselves
Mhm.
and about about their family members,
Mhm.
and mostly to increase self-compassion. So my vision is that we would live in a more compassionate world.
Mm.
And when people have compassion, they're able to look honestly and truthfully at themselves, understand their areas of challenge, and understand their strengths. And when we can do that compassionately, we then get to be more purposeful in trying to make changes that might serve us better.
Mhm.
So we all leave our cars when we grow up, and then we go on to create new cars if we have a partner or have children. But even if we're on our own, we create a new car.
Yeah.
And so what happens in the car when we're growing up? And I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself because I think it will explain my journey and how I got here.
Mhm.
Um, I grew up as an only child, and my mother and father got divorced when I was a baby. And I didn't really know my father very well, but my mother ultimately remarried. And that man is the man that I consider to be my father.
Mm.
The reason why I tell you that is because if you think of our little family in the context of a car, the father in my family was in the driver's seat.
Mm.
My mother was in the front passenger seat, and my seat was in the back seat by myself.
Mm.
Now, when I was 18 months old and my parents divorced, the father all of a sudden was gone from that driver's seat, basically never to be spoken of again until I was much older. And my seat changed, as happens very much when there's the death of a parent or divorce of a parent or separation of a parent. My seat then became to be in the passenger seat beside my mother. So in my very young life, I had three people, a driver and a passenger, and I was in the back. And I stayed in the back for 7 years until my mother remarried.
Mm.
And at that time, a new driver came in, and my mother moved back to the passenger seat, and I moved to the back seat. And my role in that back seat, the rule in our car was that little girls are to be seen and not heard, which was a very common rule back in the day that I grew up.
Mm.
And so because my car had changed so much in my early life, my goal when I got this new father in the driver's seat was that I was not going to rock the boat. I was just going to try to follow the rules and be a good girl. And what that meant for me was that I spent my entire childhood as an only child by myself in the back seat of my car, trying to be quiet, trying not to have any needs, trying not to disrupt everything, and just keep everybody happy.
Mm.
So I learned good things from that. Like, I'm a really independent person. Like, I know if there's something I want that I'm going to get it. I'm not going to wait for someone else to get it for me. I learned that I'm industrious, that I can be friendly, I can outreach to people, they can come to me. But I also learned to sit quietly and, most importantly, not have a voice. So
Mm.
I grow up learning that what I had to say didn't matter, that my feelings weren't important, and that I was just supposed to sit and look nice in this car,
Mm.
because that was another rule of the car, is that you always looked your very best.
Mm.
And so as an adult, some of those things are really helpful. I'm still highly independent. My family just laughs at me that I just don't ask for help, because I was trained not to ask for help. But
Mhm.
I also, as an adult, have had a very, very hard time, and still do in many ways, having a voice.
Mm.
And so the way that I decided to have a voice in my adult life was to have two different occupations that required me to talk, that required me to be myself and be with people and say what I needed to say. One is being a therapist and
Mhm.
to talk. People pay to hear me talk. And
Correct.
the other is that I taught social work students, graduate students at the University of Michigan for
Wow.
over 20 years. And again, this is a whole class full of people that came to hear me talk.
Yeah.
So I have been able to get my stuff out there. However, when it comes time to saying something negative to a family member, I'm probably not going to do it,
Yeah.
because, or if I do it, I'm going to apologize for 10 minutes before I finally say what I need to say.
Mm.
Because that training in me, that fear that you just can't do it, is still in me. My body owns it. And
Mm.
and our bodies carry all of this learning that we do in as we grow up within our families. Um, so I came up with this concept while I was teaching social work students about how to work with families. And it became a really valuable thing, a lesson for them for their own lives, and also learning about what's happening with this family that I'm working with.
Mhm.
And as my book has come out and people have read it, just the what I hear about people that read it, they're able to say, "Of now I get why I do that. I hate that I do that.
Mm.
But I understand that it was taught to me, and it's my default behavior." I
Mhm.
talk a lot about what's default for us, what just comes up. And oftentimes what comes up is not really a thing that we would do or say if we were truly being intentional about something,
Mhm.
but our bodies just react. So my vision is a vision of people who understand themselves, who take ownership of who they are and what they do, take ownership of their relationships, especially primary relationships like being a partner or being a parent. These are just life with lifelong results. And I believe that if we had a society that had self compassion and other compassion, that it would change everything. It changes us as individuals. It changes how families operate, so that one child isn't the scapegoat, so that one child isn't just the good one that nobody can catch up to and leaves the rest of their siblings kind of in their trail, so that a child can feel seen and heard and worthwhile.
Mm.
And the problem that happens in the workplace is people get into workplace teams and assume the role that they have always played without this kind of um, intentionality, I would say. And so the one who sat in the back seat that nobody noticed is likely not going to be the one with very smart, bright ideas at a meeting because they have been trained that not to do that. And so it would take a manager or a boss who understood this person to be able to get them to fully participate in a team setting, to not be afraid that they would be ridiculed by suggesting something, not be afraid to ask a question, and also to be considerate of the other people on the team and what their roles were and their cars and how those roles are coming out.
Mhm.
And is this really helpful for our team, or is it just people acting rotely because they just don't have the awareness or the self-compassion to act differently?
Mm. Ellen, thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
Would you say what was the age, or when did you realize that this is something you had, and something that you realized that, hey, oh my gosh, this is something that's been going on in my mind. I need to fix it or change it or overcome it. When was that?
So it happened in various stages in my life. My mother used to talk about that they couldn't take me anywhere. She used to say we'd go to a restaurant and sit down, and before in a minute, I'd be up out of my seat making friends with the people at the next table.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother would say it kind of teasingly to me. I don't think she really liked it, but she didn't stop me. But that tells me that even at that early age, I was seeking way more than just being the one child in the back seat. I do remember in grade school being in my friends' cars, literally cars with their families, and their cars were so noisy. And these kids were all interacting and being upset with each other and being mad at each other and laughing with each other and joking with each other. And I noticed even then, before I was a teenager, even that other people just did not have it the same way I did with
Mm-hmm.
this very quiet, perfectly acting threesome in this car.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that influenced my life is that very coincidentally, both of my parents were also only children. And so it's not like I had a cherished aunt whose house I spent a lot of time at. So we were really alone a lot of the time. There was not extended family. And so I began trying from the time I was very young to make a lot of friends, to gather people around me, and to be a part of something bigger than just myself.
Mm-hmm.
When I went away to college, a thing happened to me. It really changed my life. A girlfriend and I went to talk to the head of the person in the dormitory because we were upset, not about the dormitory, but just we were sad. And she was talking to us about our families. And I just remember her saying to me something when I had said something about my parents, or they don't want me to do that, or they're just really criticizing me. She looked at me and she said, I just can't imagine how parents wouldn't just be so proud of you. And that was just like, here's this person who hardly knows me, who sees my value, and yet I really never got a sense of that in my house growing up. I never got a sense of it. So at various stages of my life, I came to understand. I would say I've had a lot of therapy. I needed a lot of therapy just to be able to be this person and know who I am and not have to apologize for myself and understand that I do have worth, because I just didn't think I had that. And so in my 30s and 40s, I really began understanding this concept and understanding that this vision that I had of myself, that I was worthless and a disappointment and that I didn't matter, that was really much more about my parents than about my actual value in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And with that understanding and lots of work, I was able to come to a much more self-accepting place and a much more compassionate, self-compassionate place. And ultimately, the real gift in that was being able to have compassion
Mm.
for my parents, for the faulted people that they were, who were only trying their best, that didn't work out for me. But that was just a major thing, was to be able to develop compassion for that.
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out your vision and becoming a Vision Pro yourself.